Mmm, essence of Muppetational Christmas. Mmm.
Why am I like this? In another world, in another time, in an age of wonder, Jin is the last of his race of gelflings, and he is the prophesized being who will reclaim the missing shard and ultimately heal Jim Henson and Brian Froud's The Dark Crystal. What follows is a journey across a beautiful world with many inspiring creatures that unfortunately just leads to being a generic fantasy story. We've all heard this before. You're the last one. You're the only one. It's been foretold that you will be the person who can do this, and only you can do this. And while the Dark Crystal does do a few things to change the formula, it doesn't do enough to not make it predictable. But that's okay, because while the Dark Crystal is the story we all know, what it succeeds in doing is creating this world that's so intriguing and cool. One that is still being revisited and expanded upon. The Dark Crystal is a lot like the first hour of a superhero's first movie. It's the Uncle Ben dying or Thomas and Martha Wayne getting shot. It's an establishing movie, and I'll be very interested to see how it feels after watching the Netflix series. What Brian Froud and Jim Henson were able to create is just beautiful. This is a technical and visual masterpiece. The puppetry was groundbreaking. The combination of standard hand puppets along with animatronics and people on stilts, and the ability to create an all-puppet film was, at the time, never done before. This is the kind of movie you need to see in a movie theater at some point. I think a major complaint most people have, and one that I can kind of agree with, is The Dark Crystal is slow. Especially the beginning, it just, this isn't a movie that runs. This is a movie that walks. This is very much fantasy in its purest form. And the beautiful score composed by Trevor Jones, it only enhances that fact. This is easily my favorite music from any movie. There's a reason why a score-only version of this movie exists. And if you want a really unique experience of this movie, it's definitely worth checking out. With my only complaint being that when there is no music, the film is just completely silent. So maybe some sound effects or just some ambience could have been left in. While the film may be slow, what the Dark Crystal was able to accomplish outweighs many of its issues. If you don't like it, I completely understand. In fact, the first time I watched it, I didn't like it. It was only after reading Brian J. Jones's book that I truly learned to appreciate the movie, and it completely changed my opinion. This isn't a movie I watch for the story. It's a movie I watch for the visuals and the sound. A personal opinion of mine is that a majority of the time, puppetry will be better than what can be created on a computer. And The Dark Crystal is the film I always point to as a shining example of that. And if you're a big fan of the movie, The Ultimate Visual History is one of the coolest books I've ever owned. It is just beautiful. So many of us have seen the theatrical cut of The Dark Crystal, but hey, maybe now you'll check out the score-only version. And if you're a big dork like me, there's also the work print. Now, how does the work print differ from the final film? Well, let me just say, The Dark Crystal has quite the history.